All right, so today I got a pretty funny video, guys, for you today. And I don't know if you guys will notice, but my voice is really screwed up because I'm very sick. I've got the flu right now, and so I'm going to do my best to give a Michael Jordan or Dirk Nowitzki flu game type performance. But in reality, I'm probably going to be spilling over my words. I'm going to be a little bit more breathy than usual and might even cough a couple times during this recording. So I apologize for that. But regardless, the show goes on! I've got content to produce, and seeing the fact that I'm, quote, injured, I was looking up some of these lists related to injuries, and one of the ones that I found was this one. This is from, what website is this from? What is this website? What is this? Hold on. The Sporting News, that's what this website is. All right, so the Sporting News, and right here is the 14 most devastating NBA playoff injuries, ranking moments that change history, from Tyrese Haliburton and Jayson Tatum to Derrick Rose. Wow, talk about a mouthful. And so I'm going to rephrase this in my video title, but I'm interested to see how the Sporting News ranks everything. Again, we've seen how CBS Sports ranks things. We've seen how Bleacher Report ranks things. And I think this will be cool to talk about. I gotta be honest, a lot of the time when I'm looking at lists like this, I'm often disappointed by how much, quote, recency bias there is here. I mean, this is all basically since 2012 right here. And so with a lot of these lists, there seems to be recency bias. And, you know, people bring it up whenever there's a massive injury in the NBA playoffs. If you talk about there being an asterisk or, you know, a what if, it happens all the time. And so I think there's going to be a lot of injuries to talk about. And let me know if I'm forgetting any as we go through these lists. But these are ranked 14 to number 1. So let's see what the Sporting News has to say about this, and I'll let you know if I agree or disagree with their choices. Number 14. Okay, so this is a big one right off the bat. Yao Ming re-injures his foot versus Lakers in 2009 Western Conference semifinals. And I think based on how they titled this video, these injuries have to have taken place during the playoffs. So they're not just injured players in the playoffs, but they had to have taken place during the NBA playoffs. And so Yao Ming re-injuring his foot versus the Lakers. This one was crazy because I remember watching this as a Lakers fan. We just went like, 65-17. The Lakers did. Kobe was on an absolute mission to get back to the NBA Finals. Powell was playing great. Trevor Ariza was playing great. So the Lakers take care of business in the first round. And then they're facing this Rockets team who has no Tracy McGrady. Yao Ming ends up getting injured, and somehow, with Ron Artest on the Houston Rockets, this Rockets team still pushes the Los Angeles Lakers, the defending Western Conference champions, to a 7-game series. And so, yeah, I mean, what if they had Yao Ming? What if they had Tracy McGrady? There's a lot of big what ifs there. And so this Rockets team is kind of a forgotten title contender because not only did they have a chance to be the Western Conference champs in 2009, but they also had like that 22-game winning streak in 2008. But as you all know, just injuries between Tracy McGrady and Yao Ming just continued to ruin their chances. And so, yeah, this was a big one. And the Lakers had to work harder to get to the NBA Finals and to win the championship on this team than any other team. The Denver Nuggets, who they played right afterwards with Chauncey Billups and Carmelo Anthony, that took my Lakers 6 games to win that series. This took 7. So, yeah, Yao Ming would have been a major difference maker. And, man, how crazy would that have been if Kobe had to wait yet another year to get his first championship since, to get his first championship ring since splitting with Shaq. But who knows? You can't just assume that if Yao Ming plays, they're going to win. But of course, the Rockets would have wished he had been there. Number 13, Knicks lose Patrick Ewing ahead of the NBA Finals, 1999 Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah, this is an interesting one that people never talk about. Anytime you bring up the 1999 NBA season, a few things comes up. It was a lockout shortened season. Only 50 regular season games were played that season. They didn't start that regular season until February 1st. So they had to do something crazy like 50 games in 90 days, which means they didn't just have back-to-backs. On many nights, they had back-to-back-to-backs. And so everybody wants to talk about how the 2020 season, with the pandemic and everything, how that season deserves an asterisk. But 1999 was arguably even crazier based on how much they had to condense the schedule. Like, it was really crazy in 99. So what happens is you end up getting the 8th seeded New York Knicks going up against the 1st seeded San Antonio Spurs in the NBA Finals. But the thing about this Knicks team is, I think it's a little bit misleading because people just think this Knicks team never stood a chance against the San Antonio Spurs. And yeah, based on who they had when they met them in June, that would be the case. But Patrick Ewing got hurt. And are you going to tell me that Patrick Ewing of the New York Knicks, this 7-foot beast, wouldn't have been a big help against David Robinson and Tim Duncan? Oh yeah, defensively, getting the boards. His presence was significantly missed. And so ultimately, I still think it's fair to assume that, the Spurs are going to win that series, but are they going to do it so easily without with Patrick in the mix? Probably not. And now, to be clear, this was not prime Patrick Ewing. He would get somewhere between 15 to 20 points per game, a couple blocks, on his best nights, that sort of thing. But he was still impactful for sure. Number 12, Klay Thompson's ACL tear puts daggers in Warriors. 2019 NBA Finals. Yeah, this one was tough. Obviously, Kawhi Leonard and the Toronto Raptors were on an all-time great run. But with that being said, this was devastating. I think the Warriors win the 2019 NBA Finals if Klay Thompson doesn't tear his ACL and if Kevin Durant doesn't tear his Achilles. And these happened like boom, boom, like right after each other. And so this one was devastating. This was basically the final nail on the coffin because the Warriors were at least somewhat competitive up until this happened. But once this happened, you just knew it was Toronto's year. It was Toronto's time. And 3 straight championships for this team. If they pull it off, the Warriors. On top of that, it would have given Steph Curry 5 rings. KD would have had 3 rings. Really, really changes up basketball history to a significant extent. Imagine a universe where Steph Curry's already tied with Magic Johnson in championship ring counts. What does that do for the greatest point guard discussion? So, yeah, this one was definitely devastating for Dubs fans. Of course, they had a lot of championship success leading up to this, so they can, kind of find joy in that. But yeah, that one was tough. Kawhi Leonard injures his ankle versus Warriors in 2017 Western Conference Finals. Yeah, this was another devastating one. And that's the thing, man. Like, when you talk about the 2017 Golden State Warriors up against, like, the 95 to 96 Bulls or up against the 1986 Celtics or the 87 Lakers, 2001 Lakers, whoever you want to compare them to, you got to remember, in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals, San Antonio was up big before Zaza Pachulia stuck his foot under Kawhi Leonard and injured his ankle, and that just obviously totally changed the series. But up until that point, San Antonio was dominating the series and looking like they were about... Dominating the series is too much, but they were dominating Game 1 and looking like they were about to steal home court advantage. And then everything changed with that Zaza move. And so, yeah, you want to talk about devastating. This immediately ended San Antonio's chances. And in a way, this was kind of the end of San Antonio's championship contention in reality. And so kind of the end of an era with this one. And so truly devastating. I mean, imagine if the Warriors just added Kevin Durant and have that crazy run and then end up losing to the San Antonio Spurs in the conference finals and don't even win the championship. Oh man, you think Kevin Durant gets flack for joining Golden State now? Imagine if he lost. That would have been wild. And so yeah, this one was definitely devastating for San Antonio for multiple reasons. Number 10, Kyrie Irving's ankle injury shifts momentum away from the Nets. 2021 Eastern Conference semifinals. Yeah, I mean, between this and some of the things that happened with Kevin Durant and then obviously KD's great performance and that sort of thing, I know that, the Nets are just really frustrated thinking about what could have been if they didn't have some of these injuries and have things go down the way that they did. And so, yeah, that one's really unfortunate. It's kind of interesting the way they rank these. don't know. It's not a terrible ranking so far. Nah, I was maybe going to be critical of it, but no, I think it's all right. Number 9, back-to-back Kyries. Now you got Kyrie fractures kneecap versus the Warriors in the 2015 NBA Finals. Yeah, see, this is the thing. I understand LeBron has come up short in the NBA Finals. He's 4-6 in the NBA Finals. Are there some of those that deserve some harsh criticism? Absolutely. But he's also got screwed in some of them. Again, he was going up against the Warriors with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and Andre Iguodala. And what happens with LeBron's team? He loses Kyrie Irving in the NBA Finals, and Kevin Love obviously got his arm busted up by Kelly Olynyk. And so LeBron's second best player in the 2015 NBA Finals was Matthew Dellavedova. And just Kyrie alone, I mean, we saw what he did in the 2016 NBA Finals when he was having 40-point games, when he made that dagger 3-point shot. Like, that could have changed everything. Maybe the Cavs would have been back-to-back champions, winning in 2015 and 2016. And so, yeah, this one is a huge what if. I know for LeBron fans, this one has got to haunt you quite a bit. And just for Kyrie fans, too, because just imagine Kyrie Irving with 2 championship rings. How much does that boost his legacy, you know? And so, yeah, this one's really devastating for sure. Number 8, Chris Paul's hamstring injury halts Rockets' run in 2018 Western Conference Finals. You know, that is one thing about this Warriors team, this Kevin Durant Warriors team is, were they amazing? Absolutely. Were they at times unstoppable? For sure. They also had a lot of convenient injuries that helped them win some of the championships they won, and this was one of them. And to be fair, like, whose fault is that? Well, you know, unfortunately, Chris Paul has this sort of thing happen to him quite a bit. But that Rockets team was great between him and James Harden. They were on a great run. Of course, they missed 27 straight three-pointers regardless, so it's not like you can just make excuses like they had nothing to do with their loss, because obviously they still choked in some key moments. But having Chris Paul not get injured the way he did certainly would have helped. He didn't play the final 2 games. And so, you know, again, think about Chris Paul and James Harden. 2 guys who have never won a championship ring. How much does that change their legacies? Honestly, 8, for that alone, that might be a little bit too low, because James Harden has this reputation right now of being a playoff choker, of being fool's gold, of being one of the worst playoff performers in NBA history. And then even Chris Paul, he's not that harshly criticized, but he's still criticized. I mean, there's a lot of people who think he can't get it done in the playoffs. He gets hurt when it matters, all that sort of thing. How much more is he in the GOAT point guard conversation if he has this championship ring? What does that do for James Harden's reputation and for his legacy if he was the best player on the championship team in 2018? So yeah, 8, that might even be too low. Number 7, Isiah Thomas's valiant effort on a sprained ankle falls short in the 1988 NBA Finals. Now here's the thing, as far as devastating, it was devastating, but somehow Isiah Thomas got, like, it looked like he got even better after he rolled his ankle. So basically, here's the story. So Isiah Thomas, it's the 1988, oh, wait a minute. Okay, finally bounced off. Oh, sorry. I thought they were talking about Eastern Conference Finals. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't know what they're talking about. No, they are talking about the NBA Finals. Okay, I was like, what are they talking about? So NBA Finals, 1988. They're taking on the Los Angeles Lakers. This goes on to be a 7-game series. And what game was it? I can't remember. Was it Game 5 or Game 6? Finals before going up 3-2 against the Lakers in the NBA Finals, but severely sprained his ankle. Yeah, and so what does he do heading into the third quarter? So now he goes into the third quarter, and there is actual footage and photos of what his ankle looked like, and it looked like a grapefruit, guys. It is so swollen, and so on his swollen, discolored ankle, he sets an NBA record by dropping 25 points in 1/4 of the NBA Finals. If you've never seen highlights of this game, please look it up, because this is one of the most legendary, heroic performances in NBA history. And listen, I understand that they still lost, but here's my thing. If Michael Jordan can be celebrated for his loss while he scored 63 points against the Boston Celtics in the 1986 playoffs, then why can't we celebrate Isiah Thomas in this performance that he did while, they lost the series? And so the only reason why it's not quite as devastating is Isiah Thomas continued to play after this. Not necessarily like he wasn't healthy for this series, but they won the championship in 1989. They won the championship in 1990. So it's not like it, ended his career or he missed a significant amount of time off his career. And Isiah still played great. So it was devastating to a certain extent, but he still showed up afterwards. So I think some of these I would definitely rank higher. Like not having Kyrie Irving in the 2015 finals, like the vast majority of the 2015 finals, I would say is more devastating than Isiah playing on a rolled ankle and breaking records. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, this is just like one of the most legendary, heroic, injured performances in NBA history for sure. Number 6, Magic Johnson's hamstring injury dooms Lakers versus Pistons in 1989 NBA Finals. All right, so this one is interesting because the Lakers did end up getting swept by the Detroit Pistons. And up until that point, the Lakers actually went undefeated throughout the Western Conference playoffs. So yes, Detroit had home court advantage, but the Lakers were looking like a juggernaut as well. If they had won this championship, Magic Johnson would have 6 rings, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar would have 7 NBA championship rings, ending his career with his 7th ring as he sails off into the sunset because he retired right after this. And so, yeah, this one was devastating. With that being said, the Pistons had won Game 1 already, and Game 2 was close when Magic Johnson went down with an injury. I still think the Pistons probably win this series even if Magic Johnson doesn't get hurt. But, the Lakers were yet to lose on their home floor. Maybe they still Game 2 in Detroit and they take home court advantage. So to a certain extent, it was still up for grabs, And so who knows? Maybe if Magic Johnson doesn't get hurt, the Lakers can pull it off. And then, that would be a three-peat for them. And Kareem ends his career the right way. And so, yeah, that one is devastating. But I do think that at the time this happened, Detroit was definitely in a good position, the favorable position. Excuse me. Number 5, knee injury cost Dirk Nowitzki Mavericks chance to win wide open West 2003 Western Conference Finals. Yeah, I mean, I think wide open might be a little bit much. It seemed wide open at the time because the Lakers won the championship in 2000. They won the championship in 2001 and 2002. So when the San Antonio Spurs eliminated the Lakers, stopped them from getting a 4-peat, then everybody in the West thought, this is our opportunity. The Lakers are out. With that being said, both, Spurs and Mavericks each won 60 games. I don't know, man. Like, it took a long time for the Mavericks to kind of get over their playoff woes and start winning in the playoffs, to show up and be clutch. Like, there was a lot of instances earlier in his career where Dirk didn't show up when it mattered the most. And so would they have beat the 2003 San Antonio Spurs, especially with Tim Duncan playing the way he was playing?
I still think you guys would have beaten us, honestly. I mean, you guys were so solid, and with Timmy and everybody. I mean, I still don't think, even if I'm healthy, we win that series. But
at least go 7.
It would have been interesting. It would have been interesting. I think like we had such a good run, but they were such a juggernaut on defense that our offense never really clicked the way we wanted, because they were so smart and well coached, and Timmy in the middle. And
that's tough to say. But it would have been nice to see it. I mean, imagine if Dirk has 2 championship rings. Imagine if before the 2011 NBA Finals, Dirk had already won a championship 8 years earlier. like, man, that would be crazy. And even with just 2 rings, that would do so much for Dirk and make him enter the conversation of the greatest power forward of all time, especially if he beat Tim Duncan to get one of them, because then you're talking about 2 rings for Dirk and 4 rings for Duncan. So yeah, that would have been really interesting. Number 4, Jayson Tatum tears Achilles versus Knicks 2025 Eastern Conference Semifinals. Okay, Celtics fans, I'm going to talk to you guys specifically because, again, I am a Lakers fan, so you guys are always going to feel like I'm against you guys or taking a crap on you guys. So I want to get your feedback, Celtics fans. Don't you think this is a little bit much? Like, can't even you guys admit that number 4 is like way too much for this? Because when Jayson Tatum tore his Achilles against the Knicks just in these past playoffs, you guys were already down in this series 2-1, and you were losing in this game late in this game at the time he got injured, so you guys were about to be trailing 3-1. So unless you win the next 3 games straight with Jayson Tatum healthy, and it did not feel like you guys had the momentum, like, the writing was kind of already on the wall. You guys were not going to end up winning this series and eventual championship. So to rank it number 4 when it already kind of felt like the series was determined, yes, it technically wasn't over, but it very much looked like they were about to lose game 4 when this happened, which meant they would have been trailing 3-1. And so to rank this as number 4 ahead of some of these ones, like this one's massive. Number 8 is massive. Number 9 is huge. There is no way I'm ranking this basically already determined series ahead of those games. And so let me know if that's just me or am I being too harsh, but I think even Celtics fans got to agree with me on that to a certain extent. Number 3, Kevin Durant tears Achilles versus Raptors after return from calf injury. Yeah, this one, if you watch this series, and I know many of us did because it's only like 6 years ago at this point, this is one that just we're never going to forget because, he had the calf injuries and they just rushed him back out there on the court. There was concerns, but he wanted to win. And, I've been critical of Kevin Durant in the past. I've been critical of him joining Golden State. I've been critical of his just mindset, burner accounts, all those sort of things. But one thing I respected the hell out of him for was that nobody was going to keep him off this court. That he went out there and he played, and even after winning back-to-back championships, he wanted to win another one in the 2019 NBA Finals. And so this was sad. This was devastating. The smart move would have been for him to sit. But the fact that he did go out there and played, and unfortunately ended with an Achilles tear, I did gain a massive amount of respect for KD for that. Also, the way he came back from the Achilles was pretty epic as well. I mean, the dude is still out there balling right now. And so, yeah, this one was pretty devastating. I do think it's interesting that Klay Thompson is all the way down at 12, and in the same series that, Kevin Durant gets hurt, he's ranked to number 3. Like, it's kind of similar consequences, and similar kind of results. Golden State Warriors don't win 3 straight championships as a result of these injuries, basically. So to have them like 9 spots apart seems kind of silly to me. I'm not sure how they factored in some of these rankings. I have some other thoughts on this, so make sure to stick through till the end because there are some ones that I haven't seen on this list so far that is honestly kind of a travesty that they're not on this list. I think when it comes to these articles that come from Sporting News, that come from Bleacher Report, that come from even ESPN, I bet a lot of them are written by young people who just don't know the game's history as well. And so again, I'll talk about this more at the end because there's some that should be on this list, but I'm starting to get the sense that they might not be. Number 2, yeah, this one was massive. Tyrese Haliburton injures Achilles on brink of championship in Game 7. We now know at this point it was a torn Achilles. And yeah, I mean, you'll always remember this one too, because if you watch this series, it was anybody's game at this point. And on top of that, it was early in the game. Tyrese Haliburton had just made 3 straight big 3-point shots. So not only was he their best player, but he was on fire. He looked like he was about to have an iconic performance for the ages that might take home the championship. And that's when he goes down and tears Achilles, banging on the floor saying, no, no, no. This is probably the most devastated I've ever been watching a player get injured that wasn't on my Lakers. I was so sad when this happened and seeing his pain on the floor. Like, I'm just a competitive person. And I know a lot of you guys watching this video are competitive people as well. I genuinely almost shed a tear for this dude, because I was just like, it just killed me to see the biggest moment of their entire career was just taken away from him in a moment, and he couldn't do anything about it. That's just sad. It's just really, really sad. And so honestly, having a number 2, I don't have a problem with it, because it's not like India. It's not like Indiana is some dynasty team. Nobody's expecting them necessarily to make the NBA Finals again in 2026 or even 2027. This might have been their shot. And, now that he's injured, how is he going to come back from an Achilles? It's not an easy injury to come back from. And so even though it might seem like recency bias, I don't really have a problem with it being ranked so high. Number 1, just devastating for so many reasons. Derrick Rose tears ACL in playoff opener versus 76ers, 2012 Eastern Conference quarterfinals. It's devastating because he was basically the heir to Michael Jordan for Chicago. Not necessarily that Derrick Rose had Michael Jordan potential, or people thought he was that good, but he was the next guy to lead the Chicago franchise forward, potentially to the promised land, to an NBA championship. Youngest MVP in NBA history, this guy. And he was just so freaking fun to watch, with his explosiveness, with his ability to finish around the rim. I mean, some of those lob passes and flushes he caught down, he threw down. Man, he was amazing to watch, man. And he was just never the same after this. And I kind of understand why he took so long to come back from this injury and actually put himself out on the court again, because he injured himself trying to explode off of this leg, and his elite ability relied a lot on his explosiveness. So he was tentative. He was nervous to put himself out there, and was just never the same. He had some great moments in his career after this, but they were few and far between. And so this wasn't just the 2012 playoffs being ruined, but in many ways, this was his career and his all-time great trajectory being ruined as well. And, as the Miami Heat are making it to the NBA Finals year after year after year with Braun, Wade, and Bosh, this was supposed to be the guy who could potentially disrupt that. And, then he goes down with the injury. So, devastating. Okay, with that being said, there are some egregious, unforgivable misses. There are some omissions from this list that are terrible. If you're going to be talking about NBA history as a whole, it's so frustrating that so many young people nowadays love talking about NBA history as a whole without knowing NBA history as a whole. First of all, it comes to my mind, the guy who should be number one on this list, at the very lowest number 2, but to me it's number 1, and you guys might even agree after I explain it, is Maurice Stokes. And some of you are going to say, well, who is Maurice Stokes? Well, if you're making a list that says you're talking about all of NBA history, you should know who that guy is. Maurice Stokes was a center/power forward in the late 1950s. He was set up to be the rival for Bill Russell. Obviously, Bill Russell came into the league a little bit later than Maurice Stokes, but he played for the Cincinnati Royals, who eventually Oscar Robertson played for. So if Oscar and Stokes are playing together in the 1960s, maybe they're even taking a lot of those championships, maybe even the majority of those championships, from Bill Russell and the Celtics. But here's what happened with Stokes. He was a great scorer, an elite defender, and one of the greatest rebounders in NBA history. But he only played 3 seasons in the NBA. And so the sky was the potential for this young man. But in his 3rd season in the NBA, it was the first year that his Royals made the playoffs. It's game 1 of the 1958 NBA playoffs. He's going up for a rebound, and he gets clipped from underneath, and he falls on his head and neck. And he's down for a while. And then later on the team flight, he exits the game, but later on the team flight, he collapses. And that's when people realize how serious the injury is, because he was kind of functioning somewhat normally for a while. The guy was paralyzed. One of the greatest players that the game had seen up to that point, in his first NBA playoff game, falls on his head and neck and is paralyzed and never plays in the NBA ever again. So yeah, not only did they lose a chance to win the championship in 1958, but their star player was gone like that in an instant, just gone. And so, yeah, to me, like, that's like a next level devastating. Like, and again, that happened in the NBA playoffs, so it meets all the qualifiers. Like, yes, Rose's injury was brutal because it ruined his all-time great potential, but Stokes had his all-time great potential ruined, and he could never walk. So it's like, I don't mean to laugh. The only reason I laugh is because it's like, of course that's number one. How do you compete with that, So yeah, for me, Stokes, that should be number one. One that's not mentioned on here as well is Bill Russell, which is kind of funny because it's the same year as Maurice Stokes, 1958. Game 3 of the NBA Finals, Bill Russell injures his ankle. And because of that, he doesn't play in Game 4, and he doesn't play in Game 5, and he only plays partially in Game 6. Now, here's the thing. Bill Russell went to the NBA Finals 12 times in his career. He was 11-1. And that one time they lost in the NBA Finals was the time he was injured. That was against the St. Louis Hawks. Bob Pettit ends up having a great performance, drops 50 points actually in the championship-clinching 6th game. But Bill Russell probably would have been 12-0 in the NBA Finals if he didn't injure himself. 12 championship rings, 12-0 as a player if he doesn't injure his ankle in the 1958 NBA Finals. And to be fair, like, even back then, like, reporters were talking to Red Auerbach, who was, Red was the coach of the Celtics at the time, and they were saying to him, you guys probably would have won the championship, if Bill Russell didn't injure his ankle. To which Red said, there will always be excuses, so you got to take the loss and you got to own it. There's paraphrasing there, but essentially he said, yeah, there's always going to be excuses. We own the loss. And, but again, so that's got to be on this list as well. Wilt Chamberlain injured his knee in Game 7 of the 1969 NBA Finals. That was devastating to the Lakers because they hadn't beat the Celtics in the 1960s. That had massive ramifications on NBA history. That allowed Bill Russell to end his career as an NBA champion, or as an 11-time champion. Imagine if Wilt, sent out Russell packing by finally beating him in the finals. That would have been huge as well. So there's some big ones. Even some more minor ones would be Horace Grant dislocated his elbow in Game 1 of the 1996 Eastern Conference Finals against the 72-10 Chicago Bulls. Now, to be fair, Game 1 was in Chicago, and the Bulls were absolutely whooping the Orlando Magic. But again, it was still in Game 1, and Horace Grant was huge for that Magic team. And so it was an ugly injury, by the way, if you've ever seen it. It basically just, he gets sandwiched between Shaquille O'Neal and Scottie Pippen, and the weight of Shaq goes against Horace Grant's elbow. It basically dislocates it. And so Horace was, pretty much done at that point. And so, obviously Orlando was weakened, and then they get swept by the Bulls. And so that even could have changed some things. So there's a lot of them that could have been in here, but specifically Bill Russell and especially Maurice Stokes should have been here for sure. And so I don't know. It would be cool at some point in my life if I build enough of a following, if I build enough of an audience and bring in enough revenue where I could justify this. I would love one day to start my own Johnny Arnett website, maybe some network where I could have sports writers like this who would talk about more history as a whole rather than just guys who played in the late 80s and beyond. Because, again, I mentioned three of them that happened in the 60s or earlier that absolutely warranted being in this list, but they're almost never on these lists because, again, people want to say in all of NBA history without knowing all of NBA history. It's quite frustrating. So let me know in the comments section below if you guys think what you guys think of this list. Are there any injuries in the playoffs that you think should have been in the list or at least deserve a shout out? I would love to hear your guys' thoughts below. Again, sorry for my voice, sorry for the coughs. Just working through this. I'll try to get as healthy as I can as soon as possible so that I can get back to more regular content. But thank you guys for being patient with me. And yeah, make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content. And I will see you guys in the next video.